'cause I do not fit, I'm too big.
The Julian Chapter by R.J. Palacio. The Julian Chapter. Julian. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Ian McLaren. Before. Perhaps I have created the stars and the sun and this enormous house, but I no longer remember. Jorge Luis Borges, The House of Asterion. Fear can't hurt you any more than a dream. William Golding, Lord of the Flies. Ordinary. Okay. I know. I haven't been nice to August Pullman. Big deal. It's not the end of the world, people. Let's stop with the drama, okay? There's a whole big world out there, and not everyone is nice to everyone else. That's just the way it is. So can you please get over it? I think it's time to move on and get on with your life. Don't you? Jeez. I don't get it. I really don't. One minute I'm like the most popular kid in the 5th grade, and the next minute I'm like, I don't know, whatever. This bites. This whole year bites. I wished August Pullman had never come to Beecher Prep in the first place. I wish he had kept his creepy little face hidden away like in the Phantom of the Opera or something. Put a mask on, Auggie. Get your face out of my face, please. Everything would be a lot easier if you would just disappear. At least for me. I'm not saying it's a picnic for him either, by the way. I know it can't be easy for him to look in the mirror every day or walk down the street. That's not my problem. My problem is that everything's different since he's been coming to my school. The kids are different. I'm different. And it sucks big time. I wish everything was the way it used to be in the 4th grade. We had so much fun back then. We would play tackle tag in the yard. And not to brag, but everyone always wanted a piece of me, you know? I'm just saying. Everyone always wanted to be my partner when we do social studies projects. And everyone always laughed when I said something funny. At lunchtime, I'd always sit with my peeps, and we were like, it. We were totally it. Henry, Miles, Amos, Jack. We were it. It was so cool. We had all these secret jokes, little hand signals for stuff. I don't know why that had to change. I don't know why everyone got so stupid about stuff. Actually, I do know why. It was because of Auggie Pullman. The moment he showed up, that's when things stopped being the way they used to be. Everything was totally ordinary, and now things are messed up. And it's because of him and Mr. Tushman. In fact, it's kind of totally Mr. Tushman's fault. The call. I remember Mom made a big deal about the call we got from Mr. Tushman. At dinner that night, she went on and on about what a big honor it was. The middle school director had called us at home to ask if I could be a welcome buddy to some new kid in school. Wow, big news. Mom acted like I won an Oscar or something. She said it showed her that the school really did recognize who the special kids were, which she thought was awesome. Mom had never met Mr. Tushman before because he was the middle school director and I was still in the lower school, but she couldn't stop raving about how nice he'd been on the phone. Mom's always been kind of a bigwig at school. She's on this board of trustees thing, which I don't even know what it is, but apparently it's a big deal. She's always volunteering for stuff too. Like, she's always been the class mom for every grade I've been in at Beecher. Always. She does a lot for the school. So the day I was supposed to be a welcome buddy, she dropped me off in front of the middle school. She wanted to take me inside, but I was like, Mom, it's middle school. She took the hint and drove off before I went inside. Charlotte, Cody, and Jack Will were already in the front lobby, and we said hello to each other. Jack and I did our peeps handshake, and we said hello to the security guard. Then we went up to Mr. Tushman's office. It was so weird being in the school when there was no one there. Dude, we could totally skateboard in here and no one would know, I said to Jack, running and gliding on the smooth floor of the hallway after the security guard couldn't see us anymore. Yeah, said Jack, but I noticed that the closer we got to Mr. Tushman's office, the quieter Jack got. In fact, he kind of looked like he was going to blow chunks. As we got near the top of the stairs, he stopped. I don't want to do this, he said. I stopped next to him. Charlotte had already gotten to the top landing. Come on, she said. You're not the boss, I answered. She shook her head and rolled her eyes at me. I laughed and nudged Jack with my elbow. We loved egging Charlotte Cody on. She was always such a goody two-shoes. This is so messed up, said Jack, rubbing his hand over his face. What is? I asked. Do you know who this new kid is? He asked. I shook my head. You know who he is, right? Jack said to Charlotte, looking up at her. Charlotte walked down the stairs toward us. I think so, she said. She made a face, like she had just tasted something bad. Jack shook his head and then smacked it 3 times with his palm. I'm such an idiot for saying yes to this, he said, his teeth clenched. Wait, who is it? I said. I pushed Jack's shoulder so he'd look at me. It's that kid called August, he said to me. You know, the kid with the face? I had no idea who he was talking about. Are you kidding me? Said Jack. You've never seen that kid before? He lives in this neighborhood. He hangs out in the playground sometimes. You have to have seen him. Everyone has. He doesn't live in this neighborhood, answered Charlotte. Yes, he does, Jack answered impatiently. No, Julian doesn't live in this neighborhood, she answered, just as impatiently. What does that have to do with anything? I said. Whatever, Jack interrupted. It doesn't matter. Trust me, dude. You've never seen anything like this before. Please don't be mean, Jack, Charlotte said. It's not nice. I'm not being mean, said Jack. I'm just being truthful. What exactly does he look like? I asked. Jack didn't answer. He just stood there, shaking his head. I looked at Charlotte, who frowned. You'll see, she said. Let's just go already, okay? She turned around and went up the stairs and disappeared down the hall to Mr. Tushman's office. Let's just go already, okay? I said to Jack, imitating Charlotte perfectly. I thought this would totally make him laugh, but it didn't. Jack, dude, come on, I said. I pretended to give him a hard slap in the face. This actually did make him laugh a bit, and he threw a slow-motion punch back at me. This led to a quick game of spleen, which is where we try to jab each other in the rib cage. Guys, let's go, Charlotte commanded from the top of the stairs. She had come back to get us. Guys, let's go, I whispered to Jack, and this time he did kind of laugh. But as soon as we rounded the corner of the hallway and got to Mr. Tushman's office, we all got pretty serious. When we went inside, Mrs. Garcia told us to wait in Nurse Molly's office, which was a small room to the side of Mr. Tushman's office. We didn't say anything to each other while we waited. I resisted the temptation to make a balloon out of the latex gloves that were in a box by the exam table, though I knew it would have made everyone laugh. Mr. Tushman. Mr. Tushman came into the office. He was tall, kind of thin, with messy gray hair. Hey guys, he said, smiling. I'm Mr. Tushman. You must be Charlotte. He shook Charlotte's hand. And you are... He looked at me. Julian, I said. Julian, he repeated, smiling. He shook my hand. And you're Jack Will, he said to Jack, and shook his hand too. He sat down on the chair next to Nurse Molly's desk. First of all, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming here today. I know it's a hot day, and you probably have other stuff you want to do. How's the summer been treating you? Okay? We all kind of nodded, looking at each other. How's the summer been for you? I asked him. Oh, so nice of you to ask, Julian, he answered. It's been a great summer, thank you. Though I am seriously looking forward to the fall. I hate this hot weather. He pulled his shirt. I'm so ready for the winter. All three of us were bobbing our heads up and down like doofballs at this point. I don't know why grown-ups ever bother chit-chatting with kids. Just makes us feel weird. I mean, I personally am pretty okay talking to adults, maybe because I travel a lot and I've talked to a lot of adults before, but most kids really don't like talking to grown-ups. That's just the way it is. Like, if I see the parent of some friend of mine and we're not actually in school, I try to avoid eye contact so I don't have to talk to them. It's too weird. It's also really weird when you bump into a teacher outside of school. Like one time, I saw my third grade teacher at a restaurant with her boyfriend. And I was like, ew, I don't want to see my teacher hanging out with her boyfriend, you know? Anyway, so there we were. Me, Charlotte, and Jack, nodding away like total bobbleheads as Mr. Tishman went on and on about the summer. But finally, he got to the point. So, guys, he said, kind of slapping his hands against his thighs, it's really nice of you to give up your afternoon to do this. In a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to the boy who's coming to my office, and I just wanted to give you a heads up about him beforehand. I mean, I told your moms a little bit about him. Did they talk to you? Charlotte and Jack both nodded, but I shook my head. My mom just said he'd had a bunch of surgeries, I said. Well, yes, answered Mr. Tushman. But did she explain about his face? I have to say, this is the point when I started thinking, okay, what the heck am I doing here? I mean, I don't know, I said, scratching my head. I tried to think back to what Mom had told me. I hadn't really paid attention. I think most of the time she was going on and on about what an honor it was that I'd been chosen. She really didn't emphasize that there was something wrong with the kid. She said that you said the kid had a lot of scars and stuff, like he'd been in a fire. I didn't quite say that, said Mr. Tushman, raising his eyebrows. What I told your mom is that this boy has a severe craniofacial difference. Oh, right, I interrupted, because now I remembered. She did use that word. She said it was like a cleft lip or something. Mr. Tushman scrunched up his face. Well, he said, lifting his shoulders and tilting his head left and right, it's a little more than that. He got up and patted my shoulder. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear to your mom. In any case, I don't mean to make this awkward for you. In fact, it's exactly because I don't want it to be awkward that I'm talking to you right now. I just wanted to give you a heads up that this boy definitely looks very different from other children, and that's not a secret. He knows he looks different. He was born that way. He gets that. He's a great kid. Very smart, very nice. He's never gone to a regular school before because he was homeschooled, because of all his surgeries. So that's why I just want you guys to show him around a bit, get to know him, be his welcome buddies. You can totally ask him questions, if you want. Talk to him normally. He's really just a normal kid with a face that, is not so normal. He looked at us and took a deep breath. Oh boy, I think I've just made you all more nervous, haven't I? We shook our heads. He rubbed his forehead. He said, one of the things you learn when you get old like me is that sometimes a new situation will come along and you'll have no idea what to do. There's no rule book that tells you how to act in every given situation in life, So what I always say is that it's always better to err on the side of kindness. That's the secret. If you don't know what to do, just be kind. You can't go wrong. Which is why I asked you three to help me out here, because I'd heard from your lower school teachers that you're all really nice kids. We didn't know what to say to this, so we all just kind of smiled like goobers. Just treat him like you would treat any kid you've just met, he said. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, guys? We nodded at the same time now, too, bobbling heads. You guys rock, he said. So, relax, wait here a bit, and Mrs. Garcia will come and get you in a few minutes. He opened the door. And guys, really, thanks again for doing this. It's good karma to do this. It's a mitzvah, you know? With that, he smiled, winked at us, and left the room. All three of us exhaled at the same time. We looked at each other, our eyes kind of wide. Okay, Jack said. I don't know what the heck karma is, and I don't know what the heck mitzvah is. This made us all laugh a little, though it was kind of a nervous type of laugh. First look. I'm not going to go into detail about the rest of what happened that day. I'm just going to point out that, for the first time in his life, Jack had not exaggerated. In fact, he had done the opposite. Is there a word that means the opposite of exaggerated? Unexaggerated? I don't know. But Jack had totally not exaggerated about this kid's face. The first look I got of August, well, it made me want to cover my eyes and run away screaming. Bam! I know that sounds mean, and I'm sorry about that, but it's the truth. And anyone who says that's not their first reaction when seeing Auggie Pullman isn't being honest. Seriously. I totally would have walked out the door after I saw him, but I knew I would get in trouble if I did. So I just kept looking at Mr. Tushman, and I tried to listen to what he was saying, but all I heard was yak, 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 because my ears were burning. In my head, I was like, dude, 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 dude. I think I said that word 1,000 times to myself. I don't know why. At some point, he introduced us to Auggie. I think I actually shook his hand. Triple ah! I wanted to zoom out of there so fast and wash my hand, but before I knew what was happening, we were headed out the door, down the hallway, and up the stairs. Dude, 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 dude! Dude, 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 dude! I caught Jack's eye as we were going up the stairs to homeroom. I opened my eyes really wide at him and mouthed the words, "No way!" Jack mouthed back, "I told you!" Scared. When I was about 5, I remember watching an episode of SpongeBob one night, and a commercial came on TV that totally freaked me out. It was a few days before Halloween. A lot of commercials came on during that time of year that were kind of scary, but this one was for a new teen thriller I'd never heard about before. Suddenly, while I was watching the commercial, a close-up of a zombie's face popped up on the screen. Well, it totally and completely terrified me. I mean, terrified me like the kind of terrified where you actually run out of the room screaming with your arms in the air. Terrified! After that, I was so scared of seeing that zombie face again, I stopped watching any TV until Halloween was over and the movie was no longer playing in theaters. Seriously, I stopped watching TV completely. That's how scared I was. Not too long after that, I was on a play date with some kid whose name I don't even remember, and this kid was really into Harry Potter. So we started watching one of the Harry Potter movies. I'd never seen any of them before. Well, when I saw Voldemort's face for the first time, the same thing happened that had happened when the Halloween commercial came on. I started screaming hysterically, wailing like a total baby. It was so bad, the kid's mother couldn't calm me down, and she had to call my mother to come pick me up. My mom got really annoyed at the kid's mom for letting me watch the movie, so they ended up getting into an argument, and long story short, I never had another play date there again. But anyway, between the Halloween zombie commercial and Voldemort's noseless face, I was kind of a mess. Then, unfortunately, my dad took me to the movies at around that same time. Again, I was only about 5, maybe 6 by now. It shouldn't have been an issue. The movie we went to see was rated G. Totally fine, not scary at all. But one of the trailers that came on was for Scary Fairy, a movie about demon fairies. I know, fairies are so lame. And when I look back, I can't believe I was so scared of this stuff. But I freaked out at this trailer. My dad had to take me out of the theater because, yet again, I couldn't stop crying. It was so embarrassing. I mean, being scared of fairies? What's next? Flying ponies? Cabbage Patch dolls? Snowflakes? It was crazy. But there I was, shaking and screaming as I left the movie theater, hiding my face in my dad's coat. I'm sure there were 3-year-olds in the audience who were looking at me like I was the biggest loser. That's the thing about being scared, though. You can't control it. When you're scared, you're scared. And when you're scared, everything seems scarier than it ordinarily would be. Even things that aren't. Everything that scares you kind of mushes together to become this big, terrifying feeling. It's like you're covered in this blanket of fear, and this blanket is made out of broken glass and dog poop and oozy pus and bloody zombie zits. I started having awful nightmares. Every night I'd wake up screaming. It got to a point where I was afraid to go to sleep because I didn't want to have another nightmare. So then I started sleeping in my parents' bed. I wish I could say this was just for a couple of nights, but it went like this for 6 weeks. I wouldn't let them turn off the lights. I had a panic attack every time I started drifting off to sleep. I mean, my palms would literally start to sweat, and my heart would start to race, and I'd start to cry and scream before going to bed. My parents took me to see a feelings doctor, which I only later realized was a child psychologist. Dr. Patel helped me a little bit. She said what I was experiencing were night terrors, and it didn't help me to talk about them with her. But I think what really got me over the nightmares were the Discovery Channel nature videos my mom brought home for me one day. Woohoo for those nature videos! Every night we'd pop one of them into the DVD player, and I'd fall asleep to that sound of some guy with an English accent talking about meerkats or koalas or jellyfish. Eventually, I did get over the nightmares, though. Everything went back to normal. But every once in a while, I'd have what Mom would call a minor setback. Like, for instance, although I love Star Wars now, the very first time I saw Star Wars Episode 2, which was at a birthday sleepover when I was 8, I had to text my mom to come get me at 2 a.m. because I couldn't fall asleep. Every time I'd close my eyes, Darth Sidious' face would pop into my head. It took me about 3 weeks of nature videos to get over that setback, and I stopped going to sleepovers for about a year after that, too. Then when I was 9, I saw Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers for the first time, and the same thing happened to me again, though this time it only took me about a week to get over Gollum. By the time I turned 10, though, all those nightmares had pretty much gone away. Even the fear of having a nightmare was gone by then, too. Like, if I was at Henry's house and he would say, "Hey, let's watch a scary movie," my first reaction wasn't to think, "No, I might have a nightmare," which is what it used to be. My first reaction would be like, "Yeah, cool, where's the popcorn?" I finally started being able to see all kinds of movies again. I even started getting into zombie apocalypse stuff, and none of it ever bothered me. That nightmare stuff was all behind me. Or at least I thought it was. But then, the night after I met Auggie Pullman, I started having nightmares again. I couldn't believe it. Not just passing bad dreams, but the full-blown, heart-pounding, wake-up screaming kind of nightmares I used to have when I was a little kid. Only I wasn't a little kid anymore. I was in the 5th grade, 11 years old. This wasn't supposed to be happening to me anymore. But there I was again, watching more nature videos to help me fall asleep. Thanks for watching! Are you excited to start learning about Julian's side of the story? Well, don't forget to tune in for another story, and like and subscribe.